Hello and welcome to my dental hygiene school experience. My name is Dax Ska, and each episode I'm going to share my own experience of dental hygiene school. The highs, the lows, the funny, and the real. Thank you for joining me on my journey, and here's another episode right now. What's up, dental nerds? It is Dax Ska here, and I'm here to talk about my first 2 weeks of school. They have just flew by, but there's a lot that's happened, and I'll update you on that. And first of all, before we get started, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Are you drinking enough water? Because you should be. Water is important for your body and used in almost every process in your body. And here's another fact: you're 2/3 water. To get the proper amount of water, you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces. And if there's one health product I can get behind, it's water. Alright, so let's talk about week 1 first of all. And this is just kind of off the cuff here. I just have a few notes, but we'll see how this goes. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm avoiding my homework. Although today was pretty productive. I had a study group, and we worked on our anatomy and physiology, and feel a little bit better just because of it. Anyway, so when I was in dental assisting school about 10 years ago, it seemed like you learned about everything in class, and then when you did your homework, that's when you did all the work. Well, it feels like when you're in class in hygiene school, it's more like you have to learn it on your own, and in class it's just a quick information session. Yet a lot of the learning is really on yourself, and that's one thing that's a huge adjustment. Aside from the fact that I haven't been to school in 10 years, that's a long time. Anyway, that's just something I'm getting used to. The other thing I'm getting used to is there's so much reading. For some classes, you have to read 2 or 3 chapters, and these aren't little chapters at all. First of all, the book is pretty big, and each page has quite a bit of information on it. So that is quite a lot of reading. And then, considering that I'm taking 6 classes right now, that is a lot of reading, and honestly, it seems pretty unrealistic, but I'm getting by. And also, at school, the parking situation, it's interesting. So apparently, there are only so many spots, and it's based on the square footage of the building, because we share the building with other businesses, other health-related industries, I believe. So sometimes I get a spot, sometimes I don't. And if you don't get a spot, you have to park in the park and ride. And that's about 2 blocks away, which, in the morning, it's not too bad of a walk. Especially if I had been driving for an hour and a half. It's nice to stretch my legs. So some days I get a spot, some days I don't. But there was one day where I had driven around the parking lot, didn't find any parking. So I went to the park and ride. It was completely full. I could not believe it. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because class is starting soon. I have to find a spot. So I did find a spot that it looked like it was for our school, and I parked there, put my pass on there. Nothing happened, but I found out later I was not supposed to park there. So thank goodness I didn't get a ticket or get towed or anything like that. Also, in our first week, we did a big quiz. Now, from what I had heard about this one particular instructor, is that this instructor has very tough quizzes. And I had done some studying, but when you're trying to juggle 5 other classes, it's hard to find the time to study for all that. So I did what I could. I remember we were in the break room and before our quiz, and we're all pointing at our mouth and pointing like, okay, here's this, here's that, and that's connected to that. And so we're like, okay, I feel underprepared, but we're going to do this and we'll see what happens. So we all of us in the class felt underprepared, but we did it. We sat down, our teacher handed out the test, and we took it, and I started going through, oh, yeah, I know this question. Oh, I know the answer to this one too. And then I started going through them, and when I got to the end, I thought, I may have got 100%. Maybe. And when I went out of the classroom when I was done, until the testing was done, I started talking to my other classmates, and everyone's like, yeah, that was actually really easy. So it turned out we over prepared, but no matter what, I'm really glad that I over prepared, over studied, and I have that knowledge in my head. So, and we don't have our scrubs yet. That's something we're still waiting for. We haven't heard any word on that if we get our scrubs yet, but I'm pretty excited. I hear they're going to be navy blue. They're going to look really nice. All right, so moving on to week 2. Let's just say my week 2 started off with a little bit of drama. So I had a lot of homework, and there was, let's see, I'm just reading my notes here. So we have a chat where all of our classmates can put messages there, and we kind of send messages out to each other saying like, hey, don't forget tomorrow morning this is due, or this online test is due tonight, make sure you do it. And we're all pretty good about keeping each other informed, and I really appreciate that. And we had a lot of packets to do, like you had to fill out information, find it in your textbook and all that. So it was 9:30 at night. I was feeling pretty good. I had just finished one of my packets, and I thought I was done. And then someone at 9:30 mentioned in the chat, hey, don't forget this portion has a portion where you have to draw. And I was like, what? Because there was no drawing involved in any of the packets that I did. So I went through and I realized, oh, there's a third packet that I didn't see the first time. So luckily I had some time to do it, but I stayed up late doing it. And I thought I was going to go to bed early that night. No, I stayed up much later to take care of it. I probably spent about 2 hours doing it. And then the next morning I had to wake up early because I was driving into class. Well, I'm so glad I did that, but I was so tired the next morning. So I got ready for school, and I started driving, and I was listening to a podcast to kind of wake me up and get my brain engaged. And my mind wanders a little bit here and there, and then I realized all of a sudden, oh no, I forgot my backpack. And I thought to myself, okay, I forgot my backpack. Can I get away without having my backpack? And it was my iPad, my textbooks, and then we have a badge that we use to clock in. That's how they measure our attendance. And I thought, okay, maybe I can get away without the badge. Maybe I can talk to someone about it. But my homework was on my iPad, and I don't think there's any way to access it outside of my iPad. I hadn't sent it to anywhere to be saved other than my iPad. So after about 20 minutes of driving, I turned around and I thought, if I'm late, I'm late because I need to have this stuff in. So after all that driving, I turned around, came back. I walked through the door, got my backpack, just threw my books in there. Normally I have it ready to go, but I had to charge my iPad because the battery wasn't fully charged. And then I was off again, just like that. And I was looking at the time, and I was like, actually, the time isn't too bad. And Monday mornings, although are not ideal, the traffic is less busy. And I was able to make it about 30 minutes before class. So I leave probably about 2.5 hours before class starts, and that gives me probably about a 45-minute buffer. And I do this because I'm coming from so far away, and if there's an accident or an excessive amount of traffic, I don't want to be late for class. So I would rather be early, even though that's not my typical way of doing things in life, but I adapt. So yes, I got all my homework done, and I got to class on time, which was a big accomplishment. And something else I discovered, so being tired, something about me that you may not know is that I have not been on coffee since about August. So let's see, that's August. Well, let's say 9-ish months. And I had good reason for it. It was just making my heart beat too fast and stressing me out, and I would have panic attacks. And overall, I feel like I'm just a better person when I don't have coffee. That's after I've had it long term. But after the night before when I stayed up late stressing about forgetting my backpack and all that, I decided to have a Starbucks Frappuccino from the school cafeteria. And once it kicked in, I felt great. I felt calm. I felt focused. My mood was improved. It was wonderful. But I've fallen in this trap before, but I won't make it an everyday thing. But on the days I go into school, I think I've earned it. So that's kind of what I'm doing with my first 2 weeks. Very quick summary, I think. But we've been doing study groups, and there's just a few of us that are showing up for them on Zoom, but it is wonderful, and we're getting so much done, and we are learning, and I think that's kind of what it's all about. I know that none of our classmates want any of us to fail, so we definitely have this team mentality, and I love that. I'm really excited for the rest of the program and growing and learning with the other 19 people in the class. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. Next week, I think there's going to be an interview with a hygienist that I used to work with. So tune in for that, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye. One last thing before I go. Did you know that you can ask me questions? If you're listening on Spotify or Anchor, there's a section where you can go to record a short audio asking me a question. I would love to hear your questions. There's also a question that I ask you, the listener. You can let me know if you floss before or after you brush your teeth. Go ahead and check it out. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. It truly means a lot. I look forward to sharing more experiences with you on the next episode. Until then, I am Dax Scott, and you dental nerds keep it real.